we have with us the Hyundai Stargazer. Let's do a review. The Hyundai Stargazer is the newest nameplate to join the popular 7-seater compact MPV segment. It competes with the likes of the Mitsubishi Xpander, Toyota Veloz and Avanza, and many more. It may be late, but we think it is one of the best you can get. Let's review it to find out why. What we have here is the 2023 Hyundai Stargazer GLS Premium, which is priced at 1,258,000 Philippine pesos. Looking at the exterior first, the Stargazer surely is a standout with its baby Staria looks. In front, we have an LED light bar for the DRLs and park lights, which makes it look very distinct. On the bumper are LED headlights, your turn signals, and halogen fog lights. Some people would prefer LED for the fog lights, but we don't mind the halogens. In addition, we get a very short hood, which makes it look a bit like a van. On the side, the Stargazer is your typical MPV. Noticeable is the seamlessness of the hood with the rest of the roof and windshield, which is a nice touch. As for its shoes, this rides on 16-inch two-tone alloy wheels wrapped in Kumho tires. I'm not a fan of its design, but it is what it is. The rear then shows us more of Hyundai's daring designs with its H-shaped LED taillights, which are instantly recognizable. I do find it a bit unfortunate that the brake lights are halogens, but I guess they had to save cost somewhere. The Stargazer name is also nicely spelled out here. And once you open the manual tailgate, it reveals the usual amount of space you'd expect from an MPV, whether you have the third row up or down. Nothing to complain here. So now we're inside the Hyundai Stargazer, and as you can see here, this is rather simple and it honestly looks a bit dated compared to some other models that you can find in the segment, but still it's pretty good because first, materials, it's all hard touch plastics, but they all feel very well built. So hard touch plastic even here in the door panel, but we do have a little bit of soft touch here on the armrests, here in the door and here in the center. And then going back to design, it is very easy on the eyes. It looks very simple. We have mostly straight lines. We have a few curves here and there, and honestly it doesn't match the exterior, but at least it is very easy on the eyes. Then when it comes to storage, that's another good thing here because we have loads of places to hide your stuff. So one thing is this huge storage area here in the dashboard, so we can put here our face mask if you still use that. Then we can also put stuff like our wallet, phones. You can pretty much put it anywhere here. And then also we have this hidden storage here in the dashboard right over there, so it's really small, but it is also very helpful. And then going towards the steering wheel, we do have a 4-spoke steering wheel, so this is not really seen that much these days. So most vehicles now have 3 spokes. This one still has a 4-spoke steering wheel. It does feel really nice. We have it's leather wrapped, by the way, for this variant, and though I'm not a huge fan of the design, it does look pretty good. Then it's also tilt and telescopic, which is very helpful, very much appreciated. Then for the horn, it does sound very dinky, doesn't match the exterior of this vehicle and even the Hyundai logo, so I think they should change that, but you can always change that easily. Then also we have here our audio controls and our cruise control as well as some controls for our Hyundai SmartSense advanced driver assist technology, which we'll talk about later. Then going to the instrument cluster, it is not a screen, but it is digital. So we have a digital speedometer and digital tachometer on the right. Though I'm not a fan of that kind of design as well, but it does look pretty good. Then we have a small 4.2-inch display in the middle, which does show us some information like our settings, our driver assistance, our trip computer. Yes, fuel range, fuel level, everything is over here. Then in the middle, we have this 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system, and just like what you'd find in most Hyundai vehicles, most Kia vehicles as well, it is pretty easy to use. It's very nice, it's very responsive, very simple, and the interface itself is something that's very easy to understand, so no problem with that. Also, we have some buttons on the side and our volume knobs, and of course this comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so of course that is very much appreciated as well. And then moving down again, we have those storage areas, then our manual climate control. So we just have our fan speed, temperature, and our different zones. And I have to say that this has a very cold air conditioning system, so that again is very useful here in our climate. Then moving down, we have our USB port, we're using it right now, a 12-volt power outlet, and even a wireless phone charger. Then here just our normal gear shifter, of course with sport mode. Then if you put it in reverse, we also have a reverse camera here on the screen, which has its own settings as well. And then right next to the shifter, we do have our drive mode selector. So we have Eco, Normal, Sport, and Smart. And then moving further back, we have our handbrake, our normal parking brake, 2 cup holders, which are removable by the way, and they're also illuminated, which look really nice. And then our center armrest with storage underneath. Then for our seats, they are also really nice because first, this is leather wrapped, so most vehicles in the segment don't get leather seats as well, although they're slowly catching up. But this comes with leather seats, perforated, and also are very well supportive. Although I did find my back aching a bit on a longer drive, but still they're pretty good. And both front seats are manually adjustable as expected. And before we go to the back, I did forget to mention that I'm not a huge fan of the setup here for the infotainment system and instrument cluster, because this is a very thick bezel. It does look very, honestly, it's a bit of an eyesore for me. So I think they need to update this with maybe a digital instrument cluster or larger infotainment system, or maybe a different color as well, because it is gray, so it is very much visible. And also, I'm pretty sure other people will agree with me. So now we're here at the back of the Stargazer, and as expected from an MPV like this, we do have loads of space over here. So knee room, leg room, and foot room are all excellent. So we don't have a problem with that at all. I'm about 5 feet and 7 inches tall, and that's pretty good here. Then the seats themselves are, of course, wrapped in leather like in front, although they're no longer perforated, but that's okay. They're still very comfortable, and I did have experience here during the recent Hyundai Stargazer and Creta Media Drive in Cebu, and these seats were actually very comfortable to be in. Then materials, of course, are still like the same as in front, expected. Hard touch plastic on top, some leather on the door panel. And then here we have a center armrest, by the way, which you pull the strap and you can fold it down. And of course, it has a very nice height, so that's very nice to have there. It's very comfortable. And also, it does convert this place into a nice 6-seater cabin. So there is that. Then also, some stuff that you can find here in the second row. We do have our aircon vents here on top, and then below we have 2 USB ports and a storage area. Then here on the right side, we do have a tray for our passenger, so our passenger on this side can put stuff on top of that. So unfortunately, we don't have that here, but we do have on this side multiple seat back pockets. So we have a smaller one here for our phone or wallet, we have a bigger one for a small tablet or a notebook, and of course a large one for our documents. So that's very nice also. Then here in the door panel, we also have this cup holder right on top, so it's really accessible, and as you can see, it does fit our big bottle, so that's also very nice. It's very nice to have that one over there. So now let's check out the third row. So now we're here in the third row of the Stargazer, and unlike most SUVs which people buy because of their space and the availability of a third row, this one has loads of space as well. Not loads, but it does have a very decent amount of space. So me, again, 5 feet and 7 inches, can fit here very comfortably actually. I have no knee room, very tight, but leg room and foot room are actually pretty good, so that's surprising. The seats are placed really low and also high enough. So high enough to give you leg room, foot room, low enough that you can see very well in front. Then the seats themselves are the same as the ones you can find here pretty much. They feel the same in terms of comfort. Then thankfully, third row passengers aren't forgotten, because we do have here some storage areas, cup holders, that we can find those here, and also a 12-volt power outlet on that side. And of course, important to most people are the air vents, so we do have those in the second row like I mentioned earlier, and the air does reach here very well, even at fan speed setting number 1. So now we're driving the Hyundai Stargazer, and this is not our first time with the car because we were able to take a look at this before it was launched, but this is actually our first time to try it out on actual roads. And first, let's talk about what's under the hood. Powering the Hyundai Stargazer is a 1.5 liter Smart Stream gasoline engine that produces 115 horsepower and 144 newton meters of torque paired to a CVT. Among all the vehicles in the segment, the available models you can get in this segment, this is actually the closest that you can get to something like a Honda BRV in terms of engine numbers, because that is the most powerful. This is the next one after that, so it's a little bit less, but still very similar numbers. And you can also feel that compared to other models with the lower output numbers, because once you get moving, once you accelerate, the vehicle is very responsive. It feels really good. It feels typical of a 7-seater MPV, but still, it's really smooth. It's very quiet actually. The engine is very quiet, and everything feels very well tuned. The CVT itself doesn't have any lag. Other models have a little bit of lag, but in this case, this one doesn't have that. So once you put your foot down, the vehicle responds right away. And of course, since it doesn't shift, we have a very smooth acceleration. Also, power delivery is actually pretty good, especially if you put it here in smart mode, which we are using now. and of course, sport mode. So when you're in sport mode, put your foot down, the vehicle actually has some fake shifts, which do not feel fake. So if I love the ones in the Honda BRV, but in this case, in the Stargazer, it feels a lot better. The fake shifts, they don't feel fake at all. So it's something that's really nice. And Hyundai actually calls their CVT the intelligent variable transmission. And I must say that it is actually intelligent because again, there's that very nice shifting, the fake shifting again. And then there's also times when you would want to slow down on downhill roads that it will do the engine braking for you. So that's another really good thing. And then when it comes to handling, as expected from a vehicle like this, again a budget MPV, steering itself is very light. So it is pretty light. It does feel weighted enough when you're driving on at higher speeds, or maybe around our speed right now, which is around 60 kilometers per hour. But at the same time, it doesn't feel numb. It doesn't feel like you don't have any feedback. So it does provide decent amounts of feedback, which is already okay for a vehicle like this. And putting it in sport mode as well does add a little bit of weight, just a very little amount of weight, but that's not a problem. Again, most people who want to buy something like this will look for something that's really, really light. And also, when you are taking some corners, like right now we're going around a roundabout at around 40 kilometers per hour, body roll is the vehicle is very behaved. So body roll is not that much. It's a pretty decent amount. It's not too bad. It's also not very, very, very planted, but at least the body roll isn't too much. After all, handling isn't really a thing that these MPVs really do well, because these are designed for family hauling, not for driving like a sports car. And when it comes to NVH insulation, road noise is it's very quiet actually. So right now we're going a really smooth road, so as expected it is really quiet. But once you do get on a bumpier road or a rougher road, the road noise does come in, but it's not disturbing at all. It's not amounts that you would feel annoyed. It's not what you'd find in even cheaper vehicles. Then wind noise is also pretty quiet. It's quiet enough because we have a very aerodynamic shape for the vehicle, so that really helps a lot. And then as for ride quality, for the most part it is pretty smooth, but once you do get on a bumpy road, you can feel how stiff the suspension actually is, how firm it is. So there is that. Other MPVs may be a bit smoother than the Stargazer, but still it's pretty good. And then when it comes to visibility, that's another strong suit of these kinds of vehicles. But for the Stargazer, it is good on the side, on the back, everything. You have wide windows, you have large side mirrors, and we even have blind spot monitoring in this vehicle. So of course that really helps when it comes to changing your lanes, especially when you're driving on the highway. What I do have to comment about is the windshield, because it is a bit on the smaller side when it comes to the height of the windshield. So that does affect visibility a bit, but it's not really bothering. It's pretty much okay still. Overall, among the MPVs that I've tried, the Stargazer is definitely on top, somewhere with the Honda BRV. Although I haven't tried the Honda BRV extensively because the new generation, but I believe it'll still be somewhere on top, just like the previous generation. But in this case, the Stargazer is definitely somewhere in that league, so it's actually pretty good. And then when it comes to fuel economy, that's one of the best things about this vehicle, because it's actually really fuel efficient. So inside the city, we're able to achieve as much as 14 kilometers per liter despite heavy traffic. And of course, that's not completely heavy traffic, but we still had to go through a lot of that. Then moderate traffic conditions, it's really fuel efficient. Then on the highway, it gets even more efficient. Of course, we have 24 kilometers per liter also, with a little bit of heavy traffic on the expressway, so it's actually excellent. So the Stargazer is also equipped with Hyundai Smart Sense technology, so that gives it a handful of advanced driver assist systems. So just to name a few, we have forward collision warning, autonomous emergency braking, lane keep assist, lane departure warning. So yeah, just with that few, we know that this is one of the better equipped vehicles in the segment in terms of safety. Although I have to say that it is rather sensitive. So first, the autonomous emergency braking does have the tendency to brake even if you are already coming to a full stop. So there we go. It is a bit sensitive, especially when you're driving inside the city. Then the lane departure warning also does have the tendency to warn you a lot. So let's try right now if it will work. There we go. So that's the sound of the lane departure warning. And if you don't stop trying to change lane while the turn signals are off, it will just keep going. Also, this has lane keep assist, so one of the few vehicles in the segment with lane keeping assist, with the other one I believe only being the Honda BRV. The good thing about lane keep assist is that it does steer you back in your lane slowly and properly, so smoothly. It works really smoothly. It's very nice to use. And also, it works even at lower speed. So let's say you're stuck in traffic, it can actually do the steering for you. So right now, just for demonstration purposes, let's let go of the steering wheel, and there, it actually steered us through this curve. But of course, always make sure to be holding the steering wheel because that's how it's supposed to be. The Stargazer may be late in the MPV game, but it surely is fashionably late. It looks great, it's comfortable, it's one of the best driving. Hyundai has a winner in its hands. Now, it's time for more people to take notice because not considering this is missing out.